I was like fearless. Like all I was thinking was I'm gonna kill this guy. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to the UFC and whoever's in my way, I'm gonna finish him. So I go up to Dana White and I'm like, I just wanna let you know whether you sign me today or you sign me in the future, I'm gonna work for you. I went from making $1,000 a fight to making, almost $40,000 a fight. This guy's trying to kill you. He's trying to knock you out too. He wants you unconscious. So you have to treat it that serious too. And you have to finish him or he's gonna finish you.
One of the things that I really wanted to ask you about is, what does it feel, those like first 5 minutes right before you're about to get into the cage and you're about to fight this other dude, like he wants to fuck you up? Like, do you have any fear of what's about to happen?
Fear? Like, yeah, for sure. For sure. At least my end, some people say that they're fearless, they don't get scared. Like, I'm more I'm scared to mess up and I have all my homies see me get knocked out. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what I think about. Like, I think about my kids are in the crowd, and if I get knocked out, my kids are gonna be worried about it. So that's the fear I am. Of my opponent, there's no time to be scared. It's like I have to hit him first. And I have to be first. And I've caught myself sometimes where in a fight where I wasn't striking first, and I caught myself being in the defensive end, and that's the worst place you want to be, thinking. Because if you're thinking, you're a step behind. So there's no time to be scared. You just got to go in there and just, jump.
Now, what about a real fight with someone in the street, which I think is different? Because when you're in a regular fight, it's a sport. You have a referee. So what about that side? Like when you're actually in the street and something is about to go down?
I mean, there's like two ways, right? I mean, in the street, anything is allowed, right? It's funny. I've been in street fights ever since I've learned how to fight. It is what it is. I have been going to bars, dealing with knuckleheads. Shit, me hanging out with knuckleheads.
You hanging out with knuckleheads?
Yeah. I'm from LA. I have a lot of friends. And just situations happen, and I was in a street fight and I'm handling one situation, and then guess what? His friend comes and cracks me from the side. Luckily, I have friends that are there, and I can take a punch where I was able to figure out. Nobody got in trouble, nobody got hurt, and that was it. But you have to be aware in a street fight, right? It's not the same because there are no rules. You can get hit by someone from behind, and it might not be a punch. It might be a glass bottle, or it might be a knife. So you can't play around. It's not smart to be in a street fight, in my opinion. But I've gone, because I know how to fight, I have this confidence where I'm not really worried about a fight, because I know how to defend myself. And even more so, I know how to kind of de-escalate a situation. If something kind of happens, I'm like, yeah, you don't really want this fight. I don't want this fight. I'm out. You know what I mean? I've caught myself doing that situation too. So I'm not really worried about a street fight, but you need to be worried about a street fight. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a situation like that, for sure. But I think I'm at a point where I can kind of control what's going to happen, or at least I can control myself and get myself out of the situation.
Now, what about controlling your anger or like your aggression in that situation when you're going on the sport, you have an actual fight? How much of it is personal and you rev yourself up just by telling yourself, I want to fuck this guy up? And how much of it, it's just like, this is the sport, this is what I do. Like, I want to get down to the real, like, human, like what goes through your heart and through your head, like when you're about to go in and fight and like you're in the middle of it.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And that's something that like I find myself battling, like at this point in my career. Well, now I'm starting to tune it in. But just recently, from when I started, I started at 21. 4 years later, I was in the UFC, which is like the highest level. I went from amateur to professional to the UFC. So I hit the highest, the highest part of this pinnacle of the sport. I got there, lost focus. I was making actual money. I went from making $1,000 a fight to making 20 and 20, almost $40,000 a fight. I just started messing up, right? But there was this time from the beginning till when I got to the UFC, where I was like fearless. Like all I was thinking was, I'm gonna kill this guy. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to the UFC, and whoever's in my way, I'm gonna finish him violently. I didn't care. Like I felt like this guy was taking something from me, and like it just, I didn't care. You know what I mean? I just wanted to win. Once I took my first loss, or like it was actually my first draw, or blemish on my record, I realized, oh shit, I'm not that untouchable. And then like like try to like dial in like, oh, this athletic, like I can't just be wild, right? And so then I started trying to be more calm and sharp, and then I found myself thinking too much and finding myself like, so then I had this battle of like, do I need to be wild or do I need to be sharp and precise? And it's actually both. You know, you have to be able to be sharp and precise, and when those moments to strike, you have to hit those moments and then exit, or find a different way to hit a different angle. You know, it's not just like I would say like throw up, like just attack. It's not. It's a little bit more. So it is mental. It's smart. It's all that stuff. So, but you also have to realize like this guy's trying to kill you. He's trying to knock you out too. He wants you unconscious. So you have to treat it that serious too. And you have to finish him or he's going to finish you.
This special episode is brought to you by A Plus Creation Studio. They are a design firm in Los Angeles. So if you need any architectural work for residential or commercial, check out their link on the description. So in this draw, was that at the UFC level? Or?
Yeah.
So tell me about that fight.
It was cool. It was my first fight in the UFC. I felt that I belonged there. I was undefeated at the time. I was hyped. I was like, I'm gonna run through this whole UFC. It was Conor McGregor time.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh man, I was calling myself Money Morales. I was like, if you want to win, you bet on Money Morales. And I was just so full of myself, like so crazy, because I hadn't done shit. You know, I haven't done anything. And like,
but don't you think that you need a little bit of that to have the balls to like go after it?
For sure. That's why I like that. That's why I like that. I had that battle with myself, trying to figure out, like, do I go all crazy or do I be sharp and precise, right? So I do believe that you need that. And I remember like I had this thing where I would stare my opponents down, right? Like one of my friends like when I first started, he's like, when you stare your opponent, you look him in his eyes, right? And then I saw this video on Mike Tyson. You stare him in his eyes, and when he looks away, he broke. Right. And so I would do that. And I got so crazy to where like because the UFC puts us all in the same hotel. And I remember like whenever I saw my opponent, I would just stare him. And like we got to a point where like I was at the pool, like I was in the pool and he was upstairs, and I saw him and I just stopped. I got out the pool and I just stared him down, and like he looked at me too. He was like, I was intense. I was crazy as a kid. I was nuts. But I felt like you know what I mean. I was home. That's where I needed to be, and I went in there and I fought my butt off. The guy was actually really good. He was a Ultimate Fighter season, I forgot, but the Latin America winner. He had like double the fights that I had, like triple the fights that I had. I felt like I don't know. It was a draw. I felt that I lost because I didn't perform the way I wanted to perform. It was the first time like I went to decision. Like it was the first time, well, not decision, but like where it was like, oh, we don't know who won. So like for that alone, like messed me up mentally. I was like, damn, like I've been smoking everybody, and I had these 2 cuts, and I was like, I'm bleeding, and this fool's like he's not even bleeding, you know. Like I think I scored more points. That's why it was a draw. Like I touched him more, but
he hurt you more.
Yeah, I think so. Like I think he ended up having cuts. It was just like it was entertaining. That's the cool thing about like my UFC career. Like I have like only 1 win in the UFC. And I had they kept me around for 6 fights. So usually, like if you lose 2 in a row, they'll cut you. But they kept me. So I can say all my fights were entertaining, for sure. And I was put up against like short notice fights, against guys that were like prospects in their eyes. I was kind of like that guy to come in there and fight, build their prospect. But I gave them all fights. But outside of the gym, like outside of like the UFC, not fighting, I was partying. I was like just being a knucklehead. I didn't, I don't know. I felt like even though I was losing, I didn't feel like these guys even had a chance. I was like lost in the sauce, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that a lot of it was just like the entertainment side of it, of everyone thinking this is the life that you're
Yeah.
supposed to do, and like maybe what movies make you think that, oh, if you're a big fighter, like this is how you do everything crazy, and that's why you were acting like that? Or
For sure, if like I don't think like I for sure like if I would have had like maybe a manager like that would have like kind of guided me a little bit better, probably would have helped me out a little bit, like someone to be like, yo, chill the fuck out. Because no one really did that, you know. I was just kind of like I was making money, so who's gonna tell me? I'm the fighter, like who's gonna tell me anything? No one really told me anything, so I started doing my own thing. But also like growing up, I was kind of like that kid too. I actually decided to fight while I was in jail.
yeah, I heard that story. Tell me, but before you get into that,
Yeah.
how did you end up in jail, if you can talk about it?
I would do burglary, robberies. I would do a whole bunch of nonsense. Like the last time I hit was luckily I went to jail for stuff that I didn't, you know, like that I shouldn't have got, like that was a lot less, you know, compared to the stuff that I was doing. But like the last time I went to jail, I was going to a 7-Eleven drunk, and I was only like I was 18, just turned 18, and stealing beers. And on the way out, it's like on the way out, I went to grab the beers, and on the way out of the thing, the 7-Eleven worker actually cracked me in the head with a pool stick. And then the other guy kind of came in and they tussled with me. And as they were holding me, the cops came. But when I got arrested, they were like telling, like the 7-Eleven workers told them like a whole bunch of crazy stuff. So I was looking at like 15 years in jail.
Shit.
Yeah, but luckily, like I paid for an attorney, and like the 7-Eleven workers had chopped up some of the stuff, and like so we ended up working a deal where I ended up just doing a year. As a kid, I was just always getting arrested, but I never went to jail because my mom was really good at talking. You know, we would go to court, and my mom would speak up for me, put me into like drug programs to avoid me going to the jail and stuff like that. So shout out to mom, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that shit caught up to me, and it was a blessing in disguise. You know, it sucked because I missed the birth of my daughter, which like hurt me like bad, but it also gave me the fuel to decide to fight, and you know that's where I'm at now.
And that was your first daughter?
Yeah. It was my first daughter. I met her; she was 6 months old. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not pretty cool, but it was like I said, everything works out for a reason. Now she's like my best friend.
Yeah.
So it works out.
How did growing up without your dad affect you? Because I have a little bit of a similar story. I didn't meet my biological dad until I was like 13. And when I had my son, it was like, you know, like the best thing in the world. And I promised myself, you know, I'm going to be like the dad that I couldn't be. I think growing up, I had my stepdad who raised me as like my dad. So I didn't have the lack of a father figure in my life. So that helped a lot. But I always had, you know, like in the back of my head, I always had that feeling like, you know, I don't really know my dad. And like, why, like, I don't know. It's like something's missing there. Like, how did that affect you, especially when you were like around that time when you went to prison?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that 100%. Like my dad would come around, you know, as a kid, like seldom, like there was like, I don't remember the ages, but he would come like every like maybe like 5 years or something like that. But then after like I would say like 13, like I just didn't hear from him again till one day while I was in jail. He actually came to visit me, and I met him as an adult. And then since then we've been cool. We've kept in communication. He's come to my fights and stuff like that. He's a cool dude, you know. He's had other kids, and I'm cool with them too. We've had like family days where like all the kids united. We went to Six Flags, so it's cool. My dad's a cool guy, and I was raised with a stepdad as well. But that was my biggest thing, was that I didn't want to be a dad like my dad, you know. I wanted to be there for my kid, and so like that was like my driving force. It was like, if I keep messing up, I'm gonna be here with all these guys, and I'm not trying to be like these guys, you know. I'm like, I gotta be there for my kid. And so I mean, and from there, like once I met her, then I got like superpowers, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing that can stop me. Now I have another one, and it's even more, you know. So yeah, I like being a dad, definitely.
Yeah. So you come out of jail, and then I know you went to a gym and you were like, yo, I want to be in the UFC. And they're like, yeah, just start training. So tell me about that. experience, and like I don't know the process and the steps that it takes to get into the UFC. So if you can explain that a little bit of like what is required and like what are the 1 to 3 steps to get into it.
Right. To get to the UFC, as like, well, to get there, it's a little bit of who you know. You know, it's about winning, right? The more you win, the better. But even before that, like, let's just talk about, so now there's amateurs. So you have an amateur, right? And I highly recommend any fighter that wants to fight to go through the amateurs, because that's where you get your experience, getting used to fighting in front of a crowd. That's the thing. Like, you know, fighting in the street, like, I mean, I was in countless fights as a kid. That didn't bug me. But fighting in a cage when everybody's there watching, you know, that's different. You know, you get this anxiety, you get these feelings, and that makes you more tired. And then when you're tired in a fight, that's when you're, how big is your heart? You know what I mean? So it's different. So I always recommend amateurs. But the gym that I first went to, you're talking about like where I was like, yeah, I want to be a UFC fighter, you know, and they're like, yeah, whatever, take my money, whatever, right? They were a good gym though, like, cause they taught MMA, so like I was able to learn everything. Like a lot of people are like, what did you start with? I started with legit MMA. I went on Google, looked up MMA gym, and that was the closest gym, which
Was it here in LA?
yeah, Elite Training Center in Redondo Beach. My mom had, I grew up in Reseda, but my mom moved to Torrance to keep me out of trouble. So she moved down there. When I got out of jail, boom, we were in Torrance. Looked up gym. That was it right there. Elite Training Center, Redondo Beach. And that was it, man. I just went in there and just trained every single day. I got them there. They weren't really a competition school, but I used to bug them so much. They actually did a tournament, and I competed in that, like, cause I just wanted to compete. I wanted to get to this thing. But usually what happens is like you train, I would say like, I don't know. I would say like 3 years, right? I trained for a year before I took my first fight, but like I was kind of a psycho. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like I said, like it takes, I mean, there's people that have trained since they were like 7 years old and then wait till they turned 18 and have taken like fights before that till they have to wait till they turn 18 to become an amateur. But there's people that train for years before they even take their amateur fight. And so like, I mean, you don't need to be amateur either. You can go to a professional organization, pay for your medicals, and if they give you a fight, you can go pro right away. That's fine. Like, but
What's the difference between pro and amateur?
paid. That's
That you're getting paid
That's
for
the
the fight.
difference. The difference is you're getting paid. Because I know professional fighters that are way worse than amateurs. You know what I mean? As far as skill level.
And that's why you said that it depends on who you know and like how you do your moves.
Yeah. Well, to get to the to get to the UFC, they want you to be good, right? They want you to be entertaining. They want people to want you to fight. Like those are like the things. But overall, you have to win, right? That's like the driving force is you have to win. Unless you're CM Punk or something like that.
What is that?
CM Punk is a WWE wrestler that they just paid bring from the WWE, and then but that's like a special, like this guy had millions of fans already, right? But you have to win, right? And the more wins, the better it looks, right? So you could either, you know, fight padded fights, like you can look for guys that aren't so good, right? And know that you're going to beat them and just kind of pad your record till you're like 10-0, right? And then that looks good to the UFC. You could also take the harder route, which is fighting harder opponents, right? Maybe you get in at 6 fights, but it's like a harder route. You could also have a good manager, right? You get 6 fights in a row. Your manager knows Sean Shelby, who's the matchmaker over there, rubs elbow. Hey man, I got this guy. Short notice opportunity comes up. Boom, he gets called in like that.
And that's like when someone doesn't make weight or they
Yeah,
get injured
they got
or something.
hurt. They got hurt the week of the fight or something like that. That could happen. Yeah, it's like, and so that's why having a good manager that already has fighters in the UFC, rubs elbows with those guys, talks to them, you know, a lot. He can throw his fighters' names out there. So that's where the who you know kind of thing. Other than that, you got to just keep winning. Like you have to become undeniable. Mm-hmm. Or there's these new things called the Tuesday Night Contender Series, where you, again, who you know can get you into that show, right? You fight in front of Dana White, and he can sign you that night. And there was a show, that's how I got into the UFC, which was Dana White's Looking for a Fight, where Dana White would come to a show, to a local pro event, and he would come watch the fights. And if he saw somebody and he was impressed, he would sign them. And that's actually how I got on.
So tell me about that night. So you fought, and then he came to talk to you. How did that go down?
That was a crazy situation because I had a title fight that was booked, but my opponent had to pull out. He suffered a concussion, so he pulled out, and so I was left with no fight. But I was training for like a month for this fight, and then I get a call from my manager telling me that, hey man, they're looking for an opponent at RFA. RFA was like the official, like, you win that belt, you go to the UFC, right? But then also Dana White was going to be there for, he's filming a show. So you have like, he's like, I mean, but we weren't expecting me because I was only 4-0. Like I was like super new, but like I was still like, I was about to fight for a title. So I was still kind of climbing the ladders. But I was new, so we weren't expecting Dana White to sign me or anything like that. So we go inside. I'm fighting alongside two of my good friends that actually started with me at the gym that I started at. And then we ended up getting to Black House together, which is the gym that I'm at now, which is professional only gym. And we're all fighting. And I remember telling them, like, because they were like, you know, before a fight, everybody feels nerves, you know what I mean? And I remember seeing my guys and I'm like, they looked a little nervous. I'm like, hey man, don't be nervous. You're going to go in there and knock him out. You're going to go in there and knock him out. I'm going to go in there and knock him out. And the thing is, at the time, Mario Israel, who's the guy I was fighting, he's my friend now, but and he was my friend back then because he was the older guy at Black House. Dana White was actually there to see him because he was like 12-0, 12-1.
Wow.
And so he was like, but the thing is, that was an opportunity. You know, it was they're like, yo man, you know, the fight is for against Mario Israel. And I was like, man, Mario's my friend. I was like, what did he say? And he's like, well, they're waiting for you to respond. And I was like, man, and I talked to my girlfriend at the time, my kid's mom, and I was like, what do you think? She's like, hey, you came in here to be the best, you know? And I was like, all right, you're right. So I was like, I'm down. And he said yes so fast, you know what I mean? Because he thought everybody
thought he was gonna beat you like easy.
Me. Yeah, all of them did. Like, I mean, that's like it was just like that. They all thought I was gonna lose. But I didn't think that, you know, and I went in there and I won in like 7 seconds. I knocked him out.
Fuck.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. Everything happened. All my friends knocked out the guys, and then I ended up knocking out my guy. And then at the end of the night, I get a call right from the intercom, and they're like, "Hey, actually, before that, Dana White actually didn't see my fight. He actually came late." Right. And I remember going to the locker room, like, because after you fight, the doctor checks you. And my coach comes up, Coach Kenny. He's like, hey, man, like, I got bad news. I was like, what? He's like, Dana White just walked in. I was like, oh, OK. Like, he didn't see your fight. I was like, it's all good. Like, I'm not tripping. He's like, hey, but go talk to him. I was like, all right. But then I see him like talking. Everybody's like bombarding him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I'm not going to talk to him. Like, I'm going to leave it alone. And then like I go back to the locker room to go check on my friend, and my coach is like, "Hey man, did you talk to Dana?" I was like, "Nah." He's like, "Motherfucker, you better go talk to him." Like, he's like, "You better go talk to him. You just got a 7-second knockout. You go talk to him, or I'm gonna fuck you up." And I'm like, all right, coach, I got you, right? So I go over there, and someone gets hit in the nuts, and Dana White's by himself. Dana White's by himself, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I go up to Dana White, and I'm like, hey man, you know, like you didn't see my fight, but I just want to let you know, whether you sign me today or you sign me in the future, I'm going to work for you. And he's like, fuck yeah. He's like, hell yeah. And then like Matt Serra was there. He's like, I like that attitude, kid. And I don't know if that helped, but later on that night, like I said, I got a call on the intercom, like, Albert Morales, report to the locker room. And I was like, I thought I left my check or something, right? So I went back and they're like, okay, cool. And like, yo, Dana wants to see you. And I already knew what the fuck was up. So I was like, no way, are you serious? Like, he's like, yeah. And that was it. They signed me from that day. And it was cool because during that time, there was so much like tension between me and a gym that I was at. And like I was at a point in my career where like I was trying to get to that next level, and guys that I came up with were at that level. And it was just like, hey man, there's only one that could, you know, like I gotta go. Like I like you guys, but I'm chasing my own dreams, and like I ended up passing them. You feel me? And like it was cool to see like guys that I was like looking up to, and then like now you guys are looking up to me, and or not looking up to me, but I'm where you want to be, So it was like such a crazy moment because I felt like the world was against me, and then like boom, I'm in the UFC. So it's crazy.
That's the story right there, man. Like that sounds amazing. So once you enter the UFC and you have your first fight, let's talk about money. How does that work? Because we were just saying like people think fighters are making like millions of dollars, and it's not like that, but you are making some money. So how does that work? What is the play there? What can you talk about? What can you not talk about? Because I don't think people pay too much attention to the business side of things. And a lot of the times that is what determines how fights are put together and all of that. So tell me a little bit about that, and what was your experience going into that world where now this is like serious money's on the line for a fight?
I wish I would have paid attention a little bit more back then, it's we talked about like some fighters base pay when they first fight is like $600. You know what I mean?
Wow.
$600. That's what you're gonna get to fight. You have to pay for medicals to get cleared to fight. MRI, everything comes into like close to like $2,000 sometimes. If you find the right spots, you can get it cheaper. But like you're paying to fight. You're paying to get paid. Sure, like medicals are like every 6 months, every certain medicals are, but still like you still have to pay to fight. I luckily I started off like at a good promotion as a professional. I fought for Bellator where I was making like 1,000, which is still not that much, but I was making 2,000. But once I got to the UFC, that jumped to 20 and 20. And when I say 20 and 20, you get a base pay, which is 20,000
Just to fight.
and then if you win, you get an additional 20. That's how the UFC does it. UFC doubles it, right? Most promotions double it, but I've seen some promotions where it's like they'll give you 3,000 and then like a $500 bonus. Like they'll do stuff like that. So you're not making any money out here for sure. I mean,
And how many fights can you realistically do in a year?
realistically, shoot, the sky's the limit, right? Like,
But you're also taking a beating, so like your body, you can't just be putting yourself through that.
as an amateur, I did 1 year of amateur. Well, actually, like 9 months of amateur, like total. I did 5 fights, but that was amateur. You know what I mean? That's like the level of competition is a little bit. You're still taking damage. You know what I mean? But like I said, I was a nut. Some like it depends. It depends on how the fight comes. Realistically, I would say 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
The guys in the UFC now can take like 2 fights because now there's like actual like money being made. But
So how are you making money in that time when you're like working yourself up to that? Do you had like a couple other jobs? Like how are you making ends meet?
luckily I've been teaching. I've been teaching longer than I've been fighting, like in the cage. The gym that I started at, I had no money. Like I had enough money to pay for my first and last month and my training gear. But after my first and last month, that was it, right? So like they actually were super cool and offered me a job cleaning the gym. So I started cleaning the gym and I like, cause they saw that I was there literally from when it opened till lunchtime. I would go eat lunch and then come back and then stay from night till 9 p.m. Like I was at every single class, and they saw that I was like passionate, I was serious. So they allowed me to clean the gym. And then I was just there so much, then they let me start teaching the kids class or help out teaching the kids class. So then I learned how to teach like as I was learning how to fight. So to a certain point, I started teaching my own classes, and then I ended up teaching at like, that's where I met Eric at a system training center. I actually taught there. I still teach to this day. Now I make most of my money through privates, but I do teach classes as well. And then I started managing, but managing is like, that's like almost like just building for the future.
Yeah.
Kind of just getting used to that right now.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Eric Rios for putting us in touch. Like we work together, we produce a lot of stuff together. So shout out to Eric.
Cheers.
So you get that fight. Tell me about your first fight in the UFC. How did that went down?
It was good, man. I just went in there like fearless. You know what I mean? I went in there and I charged after this guy. But he was good, man. He was able to move. That's when I realized like there are
There's levels to the shit.
There's levels to this shit, but I was so like caught up in like my mind, I guess, that like that I was still blind to it. Like I didn't care. Like I was like, these fools got to catch up to me. Like not even thinking like I'm losing these fights. Like I'm losing them, but like I'm like, oh, that wasn't my best me, because I knew it wasn't my best me because I was partying and stuff like that. But I don't know. It was cool. Like my first fight was really cool, especially like afterwards. Bruce Buffer, he like I saw him at the airport, right? So we're at the airport and I saw him. I'm like, oh, that's sick. Bruce Buffer is there, right? And I go to Starbucks because he's like in line for Starbucks, or like I don't know how I ended up passing by him again, and he was like, "Hey, Morales." I was like, "What?" You know, it's my name. He's like, "I like your style." I was like, "Yeah, Bruce Buffer." That was my name. That was cool. Like, you know, like honestly, like my UFC career went so fast, bro, because like I was nuts, bro. Within 2 years, I had 6 fights. You know, just back to back, like not even caring. And it went so fast, but like I Bruce Buffer remembered my name. Like I got Bruce Buffer to say my name. I got a Joe Rogan post fight interview. My only fight was the only fight Joe Rogan was there. The only fight that I won. So like I got the Joe Rogan experience.
Nice.
You know, like I'm definitely like blessed. You know, I've done things that a lot of fighters that have trained way less than me are still trying to do. You know, and I'm over here working on my second go. You know, going back there, and I'm going to retire there. You know, and just but retire amongst where I belong. You know, and then just call it. You know, so I'm excited about it.
That's awesome. So, how is the process now for you? Like, what are you working on to make your way up again into the UFC? How's that going?
It's fucking rough. You know, it's crazy, man. It's like it's crazy because like every time I think I'm like I've unlocked like this new like form of Super Saiyan where like I'm going in there and I can smash everybody, like God humbles me and like shows me you're not ready, you know. But like I'm what I'm doing is I'm grinding every single day. I've picked up uh coaches that make sense. You know, the cool thing is I've been training for so long, I can tell what's real and what's fake. You know, not saying I know it all, but like I know that that shit ain't gonna work, at least for me. You know, and so I've kind of put the puzzles, or actually like I feel like I'm very like like I believe in God. You know, and I believe that like he put everything, or you know, if you say the universe put everything where it needs to be. You feel me? Like that's why I say you have to like kind of stay down. You have to stay down with whatever the heck you're gonna do, and you just stay down, and like things will just kind of come into play. You know, they kind of just piece together. But you got to stay down, even when you want to quit. You just got to keep going. You know, and then just little by little things just happen. It's crazy. So I feel like I'm right there. Just got to keep grinding. Got a big fight coming up, and I'm excited about that. And and it's crazy because like yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know how to explain it, but it's dope.
So, your next fight, you're going to Israel.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to be now for you? Because that's like you're going across the world to some random ass place. Are you fighting an Israeli
Yeah.
dude?
Yeah.
Shit. So
Yeah.
I've been training Krav Maga with my homie Reggie for about 2.5 years now. On and off, nothing crazy. I'm not like, I can knock someone out if I have to fight, but I'm not anywhere near getting into a cage and fighting anyone. How do you think that's gonna go down? Like, because those Israeli people have like something else in them.
No, no, definitely no. And this guy is the first UFC fighter from Israel. So he was actually in the UFC before. So he's a veteran, which is like that's what I'm saying. Like the right fights would get me to the UFC. You know, the right fights and a win streak, right? I was on a 2-fight win streak. I had a title and then I lost my last fight. Like I said, I was right there. I was ranked number 2 in California. No, yeah, ranked number 2 in number 1 in California, number 2 in like the nation, and then I was ranked worldwide. So I was close, and then I lost this fight. You know, and I was like, I felt like I fell way back, but then, I just stayed 10 toes down, keep hustling, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding. And now this opportunity in Israel. And actually, this is like the first time I've actually announced it. I haven't talked about it. I haven't told anybody, only like my close friends. So it's kind of like the announcement, like, right? Like, so whenever this drops, people will know. But I'm excited, man. Yeah, Israel, Krav Maga is nuts, you know what I mean? But I know how to fight too, so I'm not really too worried about him.
So
Yeah.
what's your strategy right now, like with your training? What are you focusing on? Like, what are the techniques that you're trying to get better for this fight specifically?
Well, I mean, honestly, like, it's overall. Like, I just want to keep getting better as a fighter. I know I can, like, I know I can beat this guy now, but I wanna masterclass it. I want to make it. I want to do what I always do, and I call these things. I put the work in. I know exactly what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. I want to finish this guy in the first round. I want to snipe him. I want to make it look real easy with respect. This guy's in his home country. He's gonna be prepared too. I mean, he should be. Mm-hmm. I am. I'm actually gonna leave to Big Bear in a few weeks and finish off my camp in Big Bear and then fly straight to Israel because of how serious I'm taking this fight. I'm like at a point in my career where like a loss is detrimental. You know what I mean? It's devastating. But a win could be something huge. So it's like there's no time to waste. I have my daughters. I want them to see some cool stuff. So I gotta put in some work. And if I have to sacrifice time being with them right now, like by going up to Big Bear and just focusing just on fighting this guy, I'm gonna do it. Because I want to finish this guy spectacularly. You know what I mean? I want to knock him out where it's gonna go viral to where Dana White sees it and he's like, oh, we need this kid back. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for some type of crazy highlight finish. Because that's what people want. That's what I want. That's what Dana wants. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking for. And I'm training hard every single day.
So what are some of the things that you have to sacrifice when you're training? And I was talking to CJ like before the interview, my brother, and we were trying to figure out the questions. Like, so when you're training, can you like carry out with a normal life, or what are some things that you have to cut? And I want to get specific with like your foods, sex, going out. Like, how does that play out for you?
See me, I'm the way I say it is like, you have Jordan, you have like Kobe, you got like Dennis Rodman. You know what I mean? Like you have like different types of greats. I have my times where I'm straight. Like camp, I like to clean up my diet. I've put the hold on sex before. And I've not. You know what I mean? I smoke weed, so like I've gone where I don't smoke weed, and I've gone where I have smoked weed, and I honestly believe the more dialed in, the less distractions you give yourself, the better you're gonna perform. Like if you don't smoke weed, if you don't have sex, if you don't, go on your social media, like little things like that. If your diet is on point, like you're gonna give yourself the best opportunity to win. Do I do that all the time? No. I try to, but I also want to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I want to be honest with everybody because, you don't have to be perfect to be like great, phenomenal, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, everybody's great in their own thing, So you just gotta, like I said, you just gotta keep staying down.
What's the hardest thing for you to give up?
Probably food or smoking weed. Those are like my two things. Like, and it's like smoking weed because like I'm around so much, and especially now, like the industry is kind of like a bunch of it. You know what I mean? But also, I enjoy. Like, actually, you know what? It's a habit. I think I created a habit with it. So it's something I gotta fix. But food for sure. Like, I love sweets. I mean, now we have protein stuff, and like I have a bunch of like meal prep sponsors that come up with like alternatives and stuff like that. So it makes it's really not too hard for me to be on a diet. Once I decide to like even stop smoking, like once I decide like, hey, I'm in camp, like kind of like just stop. But like long term, like I don't know, like I'm like I said, Dennis Rodman type kind of person. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, how do you think the UFC has changed, or what is about to change now? I think through COVID and all of that, and with social media, it's a massive business. There's a lot at stake, and I think Dana White is always taking heat from everyone for doing this, for doing that, for keeping this fight, or for not doing this. How do you think about all those politics and the social media aspect of it all? I think that's something I was curious to talk to you about, because you're really active on Instagram. That's how you and I connected. And I don't know, like, do you stay there and use that as a tool, or is it taking your focus away? Tell me about all of that together.
It definitely can take your focus away, but it's also a tool, you know. And you know what? The UFC actually knows that, and they actually encourage it with the fighters. You know, when I went to the UFC, when I was in the UFC, they actually paid for all of the fighters on roster to fly in from wherever they were at, fly in, and we stayed in a resort, and like Dana, like they had like Snoop Dogg perform for us, and they had like all these cool stuff, right, all the fun stuff, but they also had these classes where like they had to sit down and they like talked about social media, talk like they had like little seminars, like even Kobe pulled up to one, like it was sick. I missed out on that. It's one of like my biggest regrets, but yeah, man, like they really do care about social media, and it's something that's very important because it's a way for you to advertise yourself or your brand or whatever the heck you're gonna, you know, you're working on. But it can be a distraction for sure. You know what I mean? Because you go in there, make a reel, and the next thing you know, you're scrolling, and the next thing you know, 30 minutes pass by, and you're scrolling the same shit. So
Yeah.
I find myself doing that too sometimes. So I put a timer on my social media. Yeah.
You mentioned Kobe. Who are some people that you look up to, like either fighters or non-fighters, that you have kind of learned from and look up to?
I have a few mentors, you know, like currently that don't like to be mentioned and shit like that. But as far as like people that I look up to is definitely Kobe Bryant. I like Michael Jordan. I like Nipsey Hussle. Jay-Z's real cool, you know, but I more Nipsey, Kobe. I really like Bob Marley. You know, I like what he stands for. I like as fighters, Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali. Um, my favorite fighter of all time is Anderson Silva, but that's just because of moments and stuff like that. But as far as like the guys like Kobe, and Nipsey, was just like Kobe. You know, it's I mean, being relentless, like being great, understanding that being great is not just performance. It's like everything. You know what I mean? It's like how you can inspire the next generation to be better. You know, it's like that's you know, that's just a piece of what Kobe like kind of like inspires me to do. I mean, he even inspires me to be a good dad, you know, just to think about stuff like that. Or that's how I relate. And then when I relate that way, I think about it, you know. Nipsey Hussle, just like I said, always staying down no matter what, like whatever you're chasing, like you're going to go through all kind of emotions. You're going to want to quit. You're going to want to give up. You want to do all these things, but as long as you stay down, it's going to happen. And the thing is like, you know, I'm living proof of it. You know, I've seen it, like I've done it, like I've made it to the UFC.
Yeah, your story is like a movie, man. Just like thinking through all those beats and all that. It's like you owe it to yourself to make it great. Like
Yeah.
you have to stay on that, because like I can see, like, well, I've watched a lot of your fights, and I can see you have like that fire, that like. So I really wanted for you to have it, man. I really want to see you like stay focused and be able to like go after that. Because there's something beautiful to see other, like for me, I really get inspired when I see other men like go hard after something that they want. And like fighting is like the best ultimate way that you can show that you're actually committed to something. Because this is fucking brutal. Like it's your face on the line. And you have to make it happen. So I'm super excited to see you, man. And like hopefully you get this fight in Israel and you smash, and then you keep going after that and keep going after that. So I'm super excited about that.
Appreciate it, man.
So I wanted to ask you about movies, because I'm curious to know what's your favorite like fight movie.
Fight movie.
Are you big into movies or not
Oh, I
really?
love movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love movies. See, like I like Gladiator. I like Troy. I like I even like 300, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
yeah,
oh, oh.
yeah, that's the stuff right there. So I like stuff like that. Fight movies, Creed was cool. Like the Creeds were cool. Rocky's, I mean, Rocky's tight. I've seen Never Back Down. Never Back Down was kind of cool.
Which one is that? It sounds familiar, but I can't remember.
I don't know who's in it. I don't remember who's in it, but like not nobody really big.
Is that the two brothers that fight?
I think that's the second one.
Okay.
Yeah, there was like two of them. The first one was like some like rich kids that like this new no football player moves to Miami, and then the Miami rich kids have the fight club or something like that, and like he gets beat up, and then he tries to come back or he does come back and wins and gets the girl.
Yeah. For me, my favorite is Southpaw.
Southpaw was good.
Fuck.
Yeah, Southpaw was good. Yeah, because the kid.
Yeah,
I wanted to so
man,
bad.
I know.
Yeah,
That movie's so good. Like I've seen it so many times.
it's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
and it really gets me because of the kid. It's
Yeah.
like because I have two kids too, and like I love that element of like the father and like something that slips through your fingers because it's your own fault that is getting to that, and how he has to go to hell and back to like be able to bring himself up to.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that movie's so strong, and I think they're doing some new like UFC movie with Jay Gyllenhaal.
I did
Like,
see that.
Yeah.
They actually did a whole weigh-in, like a real weigh-in for him. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll definitely. I like to watch the fighter movies for sure.
Yeah. So who is someone right now in the UFC that you're paying attention to? That's someone that people need to really look out.
Who am I paying attention to? Like up and coming. UFC. I kind of look at them as opponents. You know what I mean? Like I mean, up and coming. Corey Sandhagen, he just lost, but I think he's gonna come back. You know what I mean? Hey, up and coming, Anthony the Bully Romero. That's my guy. He's fighting. He's the guy that I work for. You know. But he's an up and coming fighter. He's from Culver City or like West LA.
Okay.
But kid's a beast, man. He's 3-0. Oh no, 3-1. But like he's gotten fight of the night a bunch of times. He'll be in the UFC. He'll be in the UFC. The goal is to be there before him. You know what I mean? The goal is to get there before him so I can be like, hey, man. But that kid's a up-and-coming guy that you should look out for. And then another guy is Christian DeGuerro. He's fighting this weekend for the California State Champion next weekend. So those, I mean, that's who I'm looking out for. You know what I mean? Like the future. Those kids are going to be in the UFC, and those kids are going to do good. Yeah, and Eli the future. Eli is my 9-year-old, but he'll be good.
That's dope. So how do you guys handle your friendships with all of these guys you are training together, but then sometimes you have to fight them? How do you manage that side of this whole thing?
I mean, when I first started, I had Coach James Teal. Shout out to Coach James. You know, I still call him till this day. He's still my coach, but we don't work together anymore. But he taught me, you know, don't be friends with people in your weight class. You know, so I at first I wasn't really cool with, but the thing is, you have to kind of, because you need to train. You know, so you gotta find some friends or training partners. But I got to a point where I realized, like I said, it's your dream. You know, there can only be one champion. It's got to be you or him. And then most likely you probably didn't know this guy before you started training anyways, you know? So like I would talk to my friend Tommy Aaron, and I remember when we first started and we would talk about like, hey man, if we ever get to the UFC and like we both have to fight, it has to be for a title. It has to be for the title. They have to pay us a bunch of money and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, if it's your good friend, for sure. But yeah, like you said, there's only one. You know what I mean? And it's either you and him. You guys could be friends afterwards or not. But it's either you or him. Like I don't have a situation with that. Like if it comes, you know, if you feel a type of way because we're fighting, then don't fight me. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I don't think I would be in that situation.
Does it get personal? Has it ever gotten personal to you?
The most personal it got was against Mario Israel, which was the guy that I knocked out to get signed to the UFC, because that guy was actually like a big, I wouldn't say a big brother, but like the older guy in the gym that I looked up to. So it was like, oh shit, like I'm fighting like someone that I look up to. That was like the most personal I got. Other than that, then no.
And after you guys had the fight, how did that go down? Like then you
We didn't
kept
talk for years.
after because of the fight?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk for a long time. I think it was because, like I said, Dana White was there for him. So it's like, that was kind of a weird situation for me too, because I had to come back to the gym. I separated once we got that fight. Like I took myself out the gym, and I went to go work with my coach, Coach James, and like cause he was more of the main guy at Black House at the time. So I was like, they're not gonna choose me over him. So he stayed there. I left, and then afterwards, after the fight, I had to come back to the gym because that's that it's Black House. So I ended up coming back, and I didn't see him. But like, yeah, we didn't talk for a long time. But now we're cool. Now we're friends. He's actually a pretty good resource. He's actually helped me for a couple fights too.
Is there a code that in that situation you were supposed to almost like let him win so he could get the spotlight because he was the elder guy in the gym?
I mean, that shouldn't be. Like, I wouldn't do that. Like, I mean, nah. I mean, that happens in jiu-jitsu tournaments for sure. But no, I don't think it should happen in fights. Nah, no way. You're sacrificing your. I mean, I guess it could be right morally, depending on how you want to take that. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not saying that it should be either.
Yeah.
Like I'm just asking like if there is a code that you feel fighters follow that or not.
No, I mean, there might be. I don't think it's smart. I don't know. I don't think it's smart. I think it closes your opportunities away, and you can't like let that stop you. You got to remember why you got in this. Like fighting is not. It's not nothing like you said. You're risking your face. Like it's nothing that you're gonna play with. So it's like you're serious about fighting. You can't let your friendship or somebody you just met, ruin what your goal was.
So now tell me about the different styles, because with MMA you're combining everything. In your case, what's your favorite or like your like stronghold?
I would say I like to strike. I like to punch. I like to hit people. I like yeah.
That's a nice clip right there.
Yeah.
I like to hit people.
Yeah. I like to knock people out. I like that. That's a really fun feeling. As messed up as that sounds, right? But there's nothing like when you hit somebody and they drop and the referee pulls you off. It's like, damn, all that hard work just paid off. Like just for that. Like, I mean, probably the same as going to war, but you don't want to be all beat up afterwards because you deal with that when you go home. You know what I mean? And the thing is, like, when you get into a good fight, that takes time to heal.
How long does it take on average, like after you do a fight? How does it feel the next morning when you wake up?
It depends on how bad it was. But, I mean, that's when you feel everything. You feel your shins are all sore. Like, you take a shower, you realize you have cuts that you didn't know you had. Yeah, you get like you feel bumps on your head. You don't feel it during the fight. You don't feel it even after the after party. You know what I mean? But that next day, yeah, you feel it barely. I've gone to where I can't walk for like a couple weeks. But then I've also had like where I was like ready to fight the next week. So it all depends on the situation.
Yeah, we did a couple sparring sessions here, like with my brother and my friend Abraham, which is because we have been training Krav, and then we're like, we want to see what it feels like. So we just got some gloves and we started punching each other in the face.
That's gangster. Yeah.
So it was fun. We were doing like 1 minute rounds and then just rotating. So it was 3 of us. So it'll be like my brother and I for a minute, and then one will come out, then Abraham will jump in another minute, and then I will come out, and then my brother will come in.
Go to rest one. That's what we call it. Go to rest one. Go to rest
Yes.
one. Yeah, that's good. That's good training.
Yeah,
That's
it
good
was
training.
brutal, dude. Like it was only a minute, and we were like gassed out afterwards.
It's good.
Because
That's good.
we were like punching and like we were holding back because we were trying to gauge, like we don't want to hurt the other person, and it was such a weird feeling because it's like I want to hit, but it's my brother. Like I don't want to mess him up.
Yeah.
And then the same, and then it will be funny because like sometimes like my brother, he's a little rascal. Like he will get me good. He likes to like sway And like he's
Make you miss, make you pay.
that's what he likes. This
Yeah.
little motherfucker. He's like, "Oh," and he likes to shit talk you and be
Oh,
like,
shit.
"Oh," and then punch you. But I'm more of a like, I lock in,
Yeah.
and then I go forward, and then so I got him a few times. Like I got him a little like
Yeah.
cut. But after that, Abraham was like, for like 2 days, my brain was kind of like foggy. So I couldn't imagine what it is like to actually be in a real fight where you're actually taking all the hits with full force.
Yeah.
So for you guys, when you're training, how do you take it to the point where it feels like a fight? So you know you're fight ready, but you're not getting hurt or hurting your friend that you're training with.
Yeah. Like there's like a fine line, right? Like I tell one, because I teach, and I try to tell all my guys, you know, like, this is sparring, this is not a fight. This is your training partner, this is not your opponent, right? So you don't train with bad intentions, right? But that's training, right? When you're getting prepared for a fight, it's a different story, right? And my coach, Juan Gomez, the Brazilian samurai, you know, I remember one time I was training for a fight. It was like a 1 week notice fight. It was a rush camp. And he told my boy Anthony, the guy, you know, the bully, and he was like, "Hey man, if you love Albert, you go in there, you try to knock him the fuck out. You know, if you love him, go knock him the fuck out." You know, and then that set the tone. And guess what? He went there and tried to knock me the fuck out. But that's just because you need that, you know, because you're about to go to fight, you're about to go to war. And you need to be comfortable. You need to be able to react. You need to be, I mean, he still wants him sharp, but he's coming with bad intentions because he wants me to win, you know? So there's that fine line, but I guess the more you train, you can kind of cross that line a little bit, because you do need to get to that point, or else you're going to be shocked when you get punched in your face really, really hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, I really had a great time. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. And like I said before, I'm rooting for you, man. I hope you get everything that you need to hit so you can come back to the UFC and knock some motherfuckers out.
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
You're welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode. If you like this interview, check out this other interview with my boy Reggie. We talk about fighting and acting and film. So I see you on the next one.